The Luger pistol is pointed at Hauptmann Georg Richter's forehead, and his commanding officer is screaming, "I gave you a direct order, Hauptmann. Burn it. All of it." Richter doesn't move. Behind him, through the shattered window of this farmhouse-turned-command post, he can see the village. Orador Servoches, 300 civilians, farmers, shopkeepers, children, old men who remember the last war, women hiding in cellars, praying this war passes them by. His orders are clear. Destroy the village. Kill anyone who resists. Leave nothing standing. Scorched earth. The Eastern Front doctrine brought west. Make France bleed so the Allies inherit ashes. No, Richter says. The word hangs in the air. 4 other German officers in the room go silent. Nobody says no to Oberstleutnant Klaus Steiner. Not if they want to keep breathing. Steiner's face goes red. The Luger doesn't waver. What did you say to me? No, sir. I will not burn that village. Steiner steps closer. The pistol barrel touches Richter's skull. Cold metal against skin. 300 French civilians or 1 German officer. Do the math, Hauptmann. Which is worth more? Richter has done the math. Did it the moment he saw the village. Did it again when he read the orders. Did it a 3rd time when he walked past a little girl carrying water from the well. She smiled at him. Smiled at a German soldier because she didn't know what was coming. Because she thought soldiers were there to protect people, not murder them. Because she was 7 years old and still believed the world made sense. Neither, Richter says. Neither is worth more. Both are worthless if we do this. Steiner pulls the trigger. The hammer clicks. Empty chamber. A test. He laughs. Low. Cruel. You're relieved of command. I'll burn it myself. And when I'm done, you'll face a tribunal for refusing orders during wartime. Enjoy your last days, Hauptmann. Steiner walks out. 3 officers follow. 1 remains. Lieutenant Werner Kohl, 22 years old, barely old enough to shave. He looks at Richter. What are you going to do? Richter looks out the window. German soldiers are already moving into position. Flamethrower teams, machine gun nests. They're surrounding the village. Steiner is assembling them in the square, giving them their orders. 30 minutes. That's how long Richter has before 300 people burn. I'm going to evacuate them, Richter says. Kohl stares at him. That's treason. Yes. They'll shoot you. Probably. I should stop you. Probably. Kohl doesn't move, doesn't draw his weapon, just stands there. Finally, he speaks. How? Georg Richter is 34 years old, from Munich, son of a baker. Before the war, he taught history at a gymnasium. Ancient Rome, medieval Europe, the 30 Years' War. He specialized in moments where empires made choices that destroyed them, choices that seemed logical at the time, strategic, necessary, choices that history remembered as the beginning of the end. He never thought he'd live through one. Now he's standing in the middle of it, and he has 30 minutes to change the outcome. Get every truck we have, Richter says. Tell the drivers we're relocating civilians for strategic reasons. Don't tell them where, just drive. Kohl runs. Richter grabs his rifle, not to fight, to direct, to organize. He walks out of the farmhouse. German soldiers are everywhere, 60 of them setting up perimeters. Loading flamethrowers. Steiner is in the village square with a loudspeaker, announcing in broken French that all civilians must assemble immediately for their safety. Standard procedure. The French know better. They're not coming out. They're hiding. Therefore, Steiner will go house to house. Therefore, the killing will start in 25 minutes. Therefore, Richter needs to move faster. He intercepts a squad heading toward the village. 6 men, led by Feldwebel Ernst Baumer, 40 years old, career soldier, follows orders. Doesn't ask questions. Baumer, Richter says. New orders. We're evacuating the civilians. Baumer blinks. Oberstleutnant Steiner said burn the village. I'm countermanding that order. We need these civilians alive for labor conscription. Gather them. Every truck loads 30 people. Move them to the rear staging area. Baumer hesitates. Because these orders contradict Steiner's. Therefore, following Richter means disobeying the Oberstleutnant. Therefore, Baumer has to choose. He looks at Richter, looks at the village, looks at the flamethrower team waiting in the square. Labor conscription? Yes. Not burning? Not burning. Baumer nods. Ja, Hauptmann. He doesn't believe it, but he's relieved. Burning villages is dirty work, messy, loud, leaves stains that don't wash out. Evacuating people is cleaner, easier, less screaming. Baumer takes his squad toward the village, starts knocking on doors, shouting in German that civilians must evacuate immediately. Trucks are coming. Gather essentials only. The French don't understand German, but they understand trucks. They understand German soldiers at their doors. They think they're being deported to camps, to Germany, to death. Some hide, some run. One old man spits at Baumer. Baumer raises his rifle. Richter steps between them. No, we need him alive. The old man stares at Richter. Doesn't understand the words. Understands the gesture. Richter lowered the rifle, protected him. The old man's eyes narrow, suspicious. But he doesn't run. Richter pulls Cole aside. Tell them in French. We're moving them away from the front lines. Temporary relocation. They'll be safe. Ask. Cole speaks French. His mother was from Alsace. He shouts the explanation. The villagers don't believe it. Because Germans don't relocate people to safety. Germans relocate people to graves. But the alternative is staying here, while flamethrowers are being prepared in the square. Therefore, some start moving, slowly, carrying children, carrying bags, carrying everything they own. Slowly. Trucks arrive, 6 of them, Cole directing drivers. Each truck fits 30 people, cramped, uncomfortable, but moving. The first truck loads, an old woman, her daughter, 3 grandchildren, a shopkeeper, his wife, more families, more faces, all terrified, all certain they're driving to their deaths. Richter walks alongside the truck, makes eye contact with the old woman. She's crying. He says nothing. What can he say? I'm saving you by disobeying my commander, and I'll be shot for it? That doesn't make her less terrified. It just makes him dead. The first truck drives away. 5 trucks left. 270 civilians still in the village. 20 minutes left before Steiner realizes what's happening. This is the moment where most people watching will realize what's about to happen. Stay with this. Watch what one man does when the choice is between following orders that make him a monster or refusing orders that make him a corpse. 17 minutes left. The second truck is loading, slower this time, because word is spreading through the village. The Germans are taking people away. Some families refuse to leave their homes. Therefore, Richter has to go door to door, explaining, pleading. In German, they don't understand. Cole translates. The village will be destroyed. You must leave now. A woman refuses. She's 80 years old, lived in this house her entire life. Born here, married here, raised children here. Buried her husband in the cemetery behind the church. I'm not leaving, she says in French. If they burn it, I burn with it. Richter doesn't have time to argue. He nods to Baumer. Baumer picks her up. She weighs nothing, screams, hits him with her fists. Baumer carries her to the truck, puts her in gently. She's still screaming. The other villagers stare at Richter. He's not saving them. He's forcing them. There's a difference. A big one. But there's no time to explain which this is. The second truck leaves. 4 trucks left. 210 civilians remain. 15 minutes left. Steiner is in the square. Richter can see him, pacing, checking his watch. Talking to his officers. Steiner is wondering why the Hauptmann he just relieved of command is still giving orders. Therefore, Steiner is about to investigate. Therefore, Richter has maybe 10 minutes before this ends. Third truck loading. A young mother with 2 children. A boy, 6 years old. A girl, 3. The boy is clutching a wooden toy soldier, German uniform, carved by his grandfather before the war, when Germans and French were just people. The boy sees Richter's uniform, holds up the toy. "Like you," he says in French. Richter looks at the toy, looks at the boy, nods. "Like me." The mother pulls her children onto the truck. Doesn't say, "Thank you," doesn't say anything, just stares at Richter with eyes that have already calculated how this ends. The truck pulls away. 3 trucks left. 150 civilians. 12 minutes. Richter is doing the math in his head. 30 per truck. 3 trucks. 90 people. 60 will be left behind. 60 people who will burn because there aren't enough trucks. Therefore, he needs more trucks. Therefore, he finds the supply convoy parked 300 meters away. 4 more trucks. Empty. Drivers smoking. Waiting for orders. "You're with me," Richter tells them. "Civilian evacuation." The drivers don't question it. They follow. Now he has 7 trucks total. 3 already gone. 4 still here. 150 people left. Capacity for 120. Still 30 short. Still 30 people who will burn. Richter's brain is screaming at him. There is no math that saves everyone. There is no scenario where all 300 walk away. But saving 270 is better than saving 0. Therefore, he keeps moving. 4th, truck loading. 5th, 6th. The villagers are moving faster now, because they can hear Steiner in the square. His voice is getting louder, angrier. He's realized the civilians are disappearing. He's realized someone is evacuating them. He's realized who. German soldiers are running toward Richter's position. 8 of them. Led by an Obergefreiter Richter doesn't know. "Hauptmann, the Oberstleutnant wants to see you immediately." "I'm busy." "It's not a request, sir." Richter looks at the 6th truck. 28 people loaded. 2 spaces left. Looks at the crowd of villagers, still waiting. 40 people. 1 truck left. Capacity 30. 10 will be left behind. He looks at the Obergefreiter. Young, maybe 19. Scared. Following orders because that's what soldiers do. Tell the Oberstleutnant. I'll report when the evacuation is complete. The Obergefreiter's hand moves to his weapon. "Sir," he said, "bring you now. By force if necessary." 8 soldiers, 8 rifles, pointed at Richter. Kohl is beside him, hand on his pistol, ready to fight. Baumer and his squad are watching, waiting to see what Richter does. This is the moment. Submit to Steiner. Face the tribunal. Let the last 40 villagers burn, or resist. Start a firefight. Get shot. Let the last 40 villagers burn anyway. The math doesn't work. Either way, 40 people die. But if Richter surrenders now, the trucks already loaded might still escape. 260 people. Therefore, surrender is the only option that saves anyone. Richter lowers his rifle. Kohl, finish the evacuation. Get them out. Kohl nods. The Obergefreiter and his squad surround Richter. Walk him toward the square. Toward Steiner. The last truck is still loading behind him. He doesn't look back. Doesn't want to see the faces of the 40 he couldn't save. Steiner is waiting in the square. The flamethrower teams are still there. Still ready. Still waiting for the order to burn. Steiner sees Richter. Smiles. "Hauptmann, I believe you misunderstood your relief of command." "No, sir. I understood perfectly." "Then why are my targets disappearing onto trucks?" "They're not targets. They're civilians." Steiner steps closer. His voice drops. Quiet, dangerous. "You evacuated them." "Yes." "How many?" 260 so far. So far? Lieutenant Kohl is loading the last truck now. Steiner's face goes purple. He turns to the Obergefreiter. "Arrest Kohl. Stop that truck. Bring everyone back. Now." The Obergefreiter runs. Richter doesn't move. Doesn't resist. He gambled that Steiner would focus on him first. Give Kohl time to finish. It worked. The last truck is loaded. 30 more people. 290 total. 10 left in the village. The math still doesn't save everyone, but 290 is better than 0. Richter hears the truck engine start, hears it drive away. Steiner hears it too, turns, sees the truck disappearing down the road, turns back to Richter. You just signed your death warrant. I know. Why? Why do this? They're French. They're nothing. They're people. Steiner laughs. No humor in it, just disbelief. People. You threw away your career, your life, your honor for people? Not soldiers, not Germans. French peasants? Yes. Steiner pulls his Luger. This time it's loaded. Richter can see the rounds in the magazine. I should shoot you right here. You should. Steiner doesn't, because shooting Richter in a French village square creates paperwork, creates questions, creates problems. Therefore, a tribunal is cleaner, legal, official. Therefore, Steiner holsters the Luger. You'll face a court-martial for treason, disobeying direct orders during wartime, aiding the enemy, undermining military operations. The penalty is death. I understand. Do you? Do you understand you saved French civilians and killed yourself? That's the trade? Your life for theirs? Richter looks past Steiner, at the 10 villagers still standing in the square. An old man, 2 women, 3 teenagers, 4 children. The ones who hid too long, moved too slow, trusted too little. Steiner follows his gaze, smiles. Don't worry, Hauptmann. I'll still complete my orders. 10 is better than nothing. Steiner turns to the flamethrower team, gives the order. The team moves toward the 10 villagers. Richter lunges. The Obergefreiter hits him with a rifle butt. Richter goes down, tastes blood. Hears screaming, French screaming. He closes his eyes, can't watch, can't stop it, can't do anything except lie in the dirt while 10 people burn because he didn't move fast enough. The screaming stops. Richter opens his eyes. Cole is standing between the flamethrower team and the villagers, pistol drawn, pointed at the flamethrower operator. No. Steiner stares. Lieutenant Cole, stand down. No, sir. That's an order. I'm refusing it. Baumer steps forward, rifle raised, pointed at Steiner. I'm refusing too. 3 more soldiers join them, then 5, then 12, half the company, standing between Steiner and the 10 villagers, refusing orders, committing treason, choosing court-martial over murder. Steiner looks at them, looks at Richter, looks at the 10 terrified French civilians. The math has changed. He can order the flamethrowers to fire through his own soldiers, create a massacre. Explain to headquarters why half his company is dead, or he can back down. Steiner backs down. Fine, load them on a truck, send them after the others. All of you are under arrest. Enjoy your executions. The 10 villagers are loaded onto a supply truck, driven away. 300 evacuated, 0 burned. 17 German soldiers arrested. Richter stands. Cole helps him up. Baumer nods. They don't speak. What is there to say? They saved 300 lives. Therefore, they'll die for it. The math works, just not in their favor. December 2nd, 1944. 25 days after the evacuation. Military Tribunal, Strasbourg. Richter stands in a room that used to be a French courthouse. Now it's German. Everything is German. The judges, the prosecutors, the guards. 3 judges. All colonels, all career officers, all men who have built their lives on following orders. They look at Richter like he's diseased. The charges are read. Treason, disobeying orders, aiding the enemy, undermining military operations, mutiny. Each charge carries a death sentence. Together, they guarantee it. Richter is asked how he pleads. He stands, says one word, guilty. The prosecutor blinks. Wasn't expecting that. You admit to all charges? Yes. You admit you disobeyed a direct order from your commanding officer? Yes. You admit you evacuated enemy civilians instead of destroying them? They weren't enemy. They were civilians. French civilians in occupied territory. Therefore, enemy. They were people. The prosecutor's face hardens. Hauptmann Richter, do you understand that your actions allowed 300 potential resistance fighters to escape? They were children and old people. Do you understand your actions undermined German strategic objectives? I understand my actions saved 300 lives. That's not your decision to make. You're a soldier. Soldiers follow orders. Richter looks at the three judges, at the prosecutor, at the stenographer, recording every word. I was a teacher before the war. I taught history. I taught my students about empires that fell because they stopped seeing conquered people as human. Rome, Napoleon. Every empire makes the same mistake. They think power means they can do anything. They're wrong. Power just means you have a choice. I chose. The prosecutor shakes his head. You chose treason. I chose 300 lives. The trial lasts 4 hours. 17 witnesses. 12 of them are the soldiers who stood with Richter. Each one testifies. Each one admits they disobeyed orders. Each one says they'd do it again. Steiner testifies last, describes Richter's refusal, the evacuation, the mutiny. He corrupted good soldiers, made them traitors. The penalty should reflect the damage done. The judges deliberate for 30 minutes. Return. Guilty on all charges. Sentence. Death by firing squad. Execution date. December 9th, 1944. 7 days away. Richter is led back to his cell. Stone walls, iron bars, no windows. He sits on the cot, thinks about the 300, wonders where they are, if they made it, if the trucks reached Allied lines, if the children still have their wooden toys, if the old woman forgave him for forcing her to leave her house. He'll never know. That's the cost. He saved them. And he'll die without ever knowing if it mattered. December 9th, 1944. 5:43 in the morning. Still dark. Richter is woken by a guard. Time. He's walked to a courtyard behind the building. Snow on the ground. 12 soldiers standing in formation. Rifles loaded. An officer reading the execution order. Richter is asked if he has final words. He thinks about it. Thinks about what a teacher would say. What a soldier would say. What a man about to die would say. I taught history. I don't want to be in it. But if I am, let the record show I chose people over orders. That's all. He's tied to a post. Blindfold offered. He refuses. Wants to see the sunrise. The officer raises his hand. The 12 soldiers raise their rifles. Richter closes his eyes. Thinks about the little girl with the smile. The boy with the wooden soldier, the old woman who wanted to burn with her house, thinks about the 290 who didn't, the 10 who almost did, the math that finally worked. The officer's hand drops, 12 rifles fire, Richter falls. But here's what they didn't tell him. The 300 villagers made it to Allied lines. All of them. The Americans took them in, fed them, clothed them. Sent them to refugee camps in Switzerland. They survived the war, went home, rebuilt, had children, grandchildren. In 1958, the village of Oradour Sauvages erected a memorial, a plaque, with 301 names, the 300 civilians, and Georg Richter. The German officer who saved them. In 1992, the German government formally pardoned him, posthumously. Acknowledged his court-martial was unjust, called him a hero. In 2007, a French historian found Cole living in Hamburg, 85 years old. The historian asked if he regretted standing with Richter. Cole said no. Said it was the only thing in the war he didn't regret. Said Richter taught him something. That orders are just words. People are real. And when you have to choose, you choose people. This story doesn't end with glory. It ends with a firing squad. Richter didn't survive, didn't get a parade, didn't see the memorial with his name on it. He saved 300 lives and paid with his own, and never knew if it was worth it. But the 300 knew, their children knew, their grandchildren knew. 78 years later, a village in France still remembers the German officer who chose treason over murder. still teaches his name in schools, still lights candles on December 9th, still asks the question Richter asked, what matters more, orders or people? Want more stories about the real cost of courage? People who chose right over safe? Then you need to subscribe. Tap that button, because these stories matter, not the ones where the hero survives. The ones where the hero chooses and the choice destroys him and he does it anyway. Georg Richter chose 300 lives. It cost him everything. Would you make that choice? Would you stand in front of a firing squad so people you'd never meet could have grandchildren? Answer in the comments. Because that's not a history question. That's a right now question. And how you answer it says everything about who you are.